Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U. And today I want to welcome you to the analysis of the Barbie movie. There's so many reasons I think this movie is worth analyzing and worth understanding. For the first part, I don't know about you, but I went in expecting a fairly superficial story and left feeling different about life, thinking differently. And I saw it have a serious impact on a lot of people, which is why we're going to be talking about this from a profound perspective. Now, basically, I do want to give credit where credit is deserved here. The writers, and actually one of them is a writer-director, the writers on this were Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about creating for your audience. This is a conversation. There are actually some people out there that say, don't think about your audience, don't think about the market, all those kinds of things. Listen, I want you to know up front, if you're somebody who's never written before, maybe you don't want to have to think about your audience. But if you want to be a pro, this is going to become an important part of how you think, how you create, how you write. So we'll discuss some of that today. Second, then I'll take you through the profound model. This is our proprietary model about how to design profound screenplays. And again, my assumption is that part of the reason you're here is to be able to write something profound. And by the way, that's also my hope, because I believe we're in a time right now where we need profound movies more than any other time in our history. So if you're writing something that's profound, that makes a change, that helps people understand themselves and their world, I applaud you and I'm on your side. Third, we'll walk through the transformational journey of Barbie. Then we'll talk about what makes this movie profound. And finally, we'll talk about the upcoming class, Writing Profound Movies and TV Series, for those of you who want to be able to write with tremendous depth, and you want both whoever's reading your screenplay and whoever's watching your movie to have a deep experience that shifts their lives. So if that's who you are, then stay tuned for that, because it will make a big difference for you. All right, let's go. Creating for your audience. And I'm going to point this, I'm going to do this in a different way. I'm not going to explain a lot about it. I want you to understand some incredibly important parts. So first thing, who is the audience you're writing to? And when somebody tells me my audience is everyone, please know there's a couple of problems for that. First, if you write to everyone, you're writing to no one. If you write something that is general and doesn't have a target audience, then nobody's going to feel like it's their movie, right? Second on that, once you know who your target audience is, then you are specifically writing to what they need, what they value, what's important to them, what matters to them. And because of that, you are going to have a much deeper impact on their lives. Now, let me tell you, I had a breakthrough at one point, and I was watching an interview with Tyler Perry, who I think is an amazing director and producer. But Tyler Perry was being interviewed by a white guy, and he had written a movie, and it had just come out, that had an all-black cast. And the interviewer says this line to him. He said, there were some things in that movie I just didn't understand. And I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. Let's see where this goes. And Tyler Perry said, that's totally okay. You're not the audience. Now, you could think about that. You could look at that and go, oh, well, Tyler Perry just talked down to him or something like that. That's not true. Tyler Perry just said something that is something everybody in this industry who is succeeding considers, right? That person wasn't the audience for that movie. That movie was written to a different audience. The audience he wrote it to loved it. The audience who was not part of his audience didn't understand it. That's totally okay, right? You are much better off having an audience that says, this movie spoke to me. This was my movie, than having a whole bunch of people in the room who don't care. So this is one of the things I always tell people: figure out who your audience is, get clear on who that audience is, and do whatever you can to speak to what matters to them. So talking about Barbie. Barbie, and this I'm talking about audience here, you'll see in a minute. Mattel created, actually it was a lady named Ruth Handler. Ruth Handler created Barbie in 1959. Since then, Mattel has sold over $1 billion. Now, this is incredible when you think about it. What it means, and I'll go to that one in a second, what it means is there's a huge audience out there of people who grew up with Barbie, right? 5 years later, Hasbro, who was the leader in the industry before Mattel was nothing at the point at which they created Barbie. Barbie then took them into the leading position. Hasbro, 5 years later, decided not to compete with Barbie, but to create a G.I. Joe for boys. So they went to a slightly different audience. They sold 375 million G.I. Joe action figures. Even though that's 1/3 of what Barbie has sold, that's still incredible. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is two things. First, we just saw a Barbie movie that was a pretty much a wide audience movie that they spent $100 million on. There have been 4 G.I. Joe movies, and they've done pretty well. They've spent $100 million and it'll make back 300 or 400 million. So far, none of them have come to the level of Barbie. That's important to know. But at the same time, they speak to a specific audience. So let's take a look at these so you can see them. G.I. Joe. The audience is men who grew up with G.I. Joe action figures. Now, you could say it's all men. Okay, maybe. You could say that, yes, they've done things to make it appealing to other audiences and that kind of thing. But really here, let's just be real about this. G.I. Joe didn't focus on women's issues, right? Because it wasn't geared towards women. The audience, again, was men who grew up with these G.I. Joe action figures. So it was all about men's motivations, men's needs, men's issues, and a lot of fighting. That makes sense to everyone? Cheryl and I went and saw G.I. Joe, the first movie that came out, together. The interesting thing to me was when we walked out, she didn't say, why didn't it focus on women? It was interesting. Here's the difference. Barbie, the audience for Barbies are women and girls who have grown up with Barbie, right? That's the primary audience. And that, by the way, is over 1 billion Barbie owners. Now, yes, they take their boyfriends to see that, or they take their husbands or whatever. But the truth is Barbie isn't focused on men's issues. It's about women's motivations, their needs, their issues, and the journey is one of discovery. Essentially, Barbie is a female empowerment movie, as it should be, right? So anytime somebody says, well, I don't feel like it really spoke to men, I'm just saying up front, and I don't have an issue with people who feel that way, but I just want them to be aware that's not the audience. That's not the primary audience. At best, it's a secondary audience, maybe a third audience. But Barbie is here to speak to women's issues. And I think it did an amazing job of it. And I think there's so many things to learn because of it. Now, let's just kind of talk about this. I want to walk you through the profound model so that you really have an idea of what it takes to create something that's profound. And then we'll go back to Barbie and we'll go through her transformational journey and how you interact with her. I just felt like we needed to talk about audience so that that's clear in the beginning. So this is our profound model. It came from analyzing about 40 different profound movies and seeing what was it about them that made them something that caused people to have deep internal experiences and caused them to watch those movies over and over and over again. So here's the first part. Oh, by the way, this looks like an envelope because in the beginning, we thought the whole thing was going to be about what's the message. And that we later, it's like, because that's what most people do is if you say you're going to write something profound, they ask, what's the message? We're not asking that. After going through and analyzing all these movies, we stood back and went, wait a minute, you need to know up front, what's the change you are trying to make for your audience? What is the change? Because if you know what that change is, then you write to that change. Right? And that's really important. That dictates a lot of what you're going to do when you're writing and a lot of the decisions you're going to make. Second decision you make is up in the top left-hand corner, an opening that connects with that audience. Now, sitting in Barbie, the first time Cheryl and I saw it, we saw it twice. The first time that we saw it, I'm sitting there watching, and to me, this was kind of a superficial thing in the beginning. We're seeing Barbie in Barbie land. They've got the Barbie playhouses, right? She wakes up in her Barbie bed, living her Barbie life. She has a wonderful life. She's happy and all that kind of thing. To me, that didn't really connect in a big way, but I would believe, and this is just my thoughts on this, I would believe for anybody who grew up with Barbie, who had all those different Barbie dolls, who had the Barbie playhouses and those kinds of things, my guess is that you were looking at that world and feeling some of the feelings you felt a long, long time ago. So I think that opening connected with the audience that it needed to connect with. And that's really important. Then it takes us on this journey. And we go over here to number 3, and you need a profound ending. And we're usually figuring those two out in the very beginning because that gives us an arc, right? That tells us where it's going to start, where it's going to end. And so a profound ending also means you are going to have people have an emotional experience at the end, and they are going to see life in a different way. So number 4, across the top, now we take this arc and we make it into a transformational journey. And just to be clear, a transformational journey isn't just an arc. A lot of people think that way, but really it's so much more. And I'm actually going to give you those in number 7 and number 8. You will see at least some of the depth that goes into a real transformational journey. But the objective here is to have a character start in one way, have all kinds of major shifts towards the middle, and end as a person who is much, much stronger, much, much more capable. They see life in a different way by the end, right? I'd say less than 25% of the movies that come out have a real, true transformational journey. Almost all of them have an arc, but it's like trying to create something that really is profound and shifts people's lives. That takes more than just an arc. Then we go down here, bottom left-hand corner, the transformable character. Who is the character who is going to change? Sometimes this is one character, like if you look at The Matrix, Neo was the character that changed. The whole movie was about Neo's transformational journey. Sometimes this is 4 or 5 characters. If you look at Dead Poets Society, it was the boys who were the transformational characters. Sometimes it's more, but you're looking at who can you legitimately show a major change for in 90 minutes. And then on the right-hand side, who is the change agent? Now, let me pause. The way I look at this movie, the Barbie movie, the transformable character is actually Barbie, right? She's the one who's going to go through the major change. She starts out living in kind of a superficial world. Life is wonderful for her. Every day is great. Every night she has a party with her friends, and everything is wonderful. Ken, on the other hand, by the way, is only happy if Barbie smiles at him. That's what they tell us. But I think the change agent in that situation for Barbie is Gloria, the America Ferrera character. I think she's the one that causes the change. Now, you could say Ken causes change for her. He does to a degree. I think, though, the one that empowers her and shifts how she thinks, for the most part, is America. So we'll see. It's Gloria. Let me say it differently. Then you need a gradient of change, right? And this is important because I had people, when we were doing our very first time of running through this program, say, well, my character is going to stay the same all the way to the end. And then in the very last scene or the climax of the movie, suddenly that character becomes a hero. And it's like, okay, they're going flatlining all the way across, and then suddenly they jump up and come to life. While that may happen in real life, somebody who's a nobody saves the day on the airplane or whatever, that doesn't give the audience the chance to make change. It doesn't give them the internal experience of going through that change. It gives you this one big surprise at the end, and that's all. What we want instead of that is a series of little steps that every single step causes a little tiny bit of change that the audience experiences. And then there's the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And this gradient of change by the end takes you up to this profound ending, right? So every step that happens causes a little bit of change. And I'll talk with you about those right now. Those changes are going to happen in two ways, basically. And that's what these little hash marks are right here. These are changes that are occurring for this audience. So those changes happen in a couple of ways. First one is changes that challenge the old ways, right? Because there's a reason a character is stuck and a person is stuck in their life. The reason is because they're still living out of their old ways. They're still living out of what they learned back in high school or grade school or college or whatever it was. Those old ways were built into them. We're not going to tell them they're wrong here. Instead, what the movie does, this movie and every other profound movie I've seen, is it sets up the kind of experience that has them go, wait a minute, something's wrong. It's not working. The old ways aren't working. Why aren't they working? Right? Think about when Barbie comes to town and she does her normal stuff. First thing that happens is people are looking at her weird, and she experiences that, right? It's like normally when she dresses up in orange, people like it, or pink or whatever. But people on the beach are looking at her strange. So she goes to buy some new clothes and she gets arrested. The old way didn't work there. Then she, tries a different thing. She gets arrested a second time. Things aren't working the way they are. This world that she's seeing has all kinds of things that don't match her Barbie world. All of those old ways are being challenged constantly throughout that experience. Then there are the profound moments. And these profound moments is having the person take on these new ways of thinking and new ways of behaving. These profound moments lock those in. When she does something and suddenly she has success, she feels it, right? When we get to Gloria giving her that speech about what a woman's life is like, that's a profound moment for Barbie. And I'll tell you, I think it's a profound moment for a lot of audience members. So if you're doing this stuff well, what happens is we as an audience naturally make change. We start to shift how we think, how we see things, what we believe. And that makes a huge, huge difference. Now, number 9 on the left-hand side, you see the word entertainment. I put this here because originally when we tested this program, we had some people who wrote something that they called a screenplay, but I called it a documentary. And they were trying to make sure that they got everything perfect and they said all the right things and every single thing they said was 100% true, but it had no entertainment. So I'm going to tell you from the beginning, entertainment is a major key. Even if the story that you're writing is sad or unhappy or shocking or whatever it is, what entertainment basically means is we as an audience are going on an emotional roller coaster journey, right? Sometimes we feel happy in the movie. Sometimes we feel sad. Sometimes we laugh. Sometimes we cry, right? And there's ups and downs all the way through the movie that keep us emotionally engaged. That's where your entertainment is coming from. On the other side, let's go all the way to the right-hand side. You'll see number 10, it says insights. And this is where I've had some people write what they consider to be a profound movie, but it was all surface level. They didn't have any insights. They weren't looking beneath the surface. They weren't trying to discover something different. And this is going to be really important. Your ability to find deeper insights that your audience can experience will make a big difference in whether they consider it to be profound or not. So let's now jump in and talk about this so you can see it. The transformational journey of Barbie. And I'm just going to walk you through step by step what her journey basically is. But the arc, she goes from being a doll to becoming human. And again, sorry if there's any spoilers here, but it's all right. You're going to love it. We went and saw it a second time. This movie holds up a second time. If I was going to watch it a third time, I would say I would still have the same kind of profound experience. So here's her journey. Barbie starts out in her world where women are in charge and everything is wonderful. And the only person in there that has any kind of issue is Ken. Ken's whole life is he's only happy if Barbie smiles at him. So yes, Ken does have a little bit of a transformational journey also, but let's stay with Barbie. Barbie has a dream one night of a girl that needs her. The girl is having feelings of death and despair. Barbie wakes up and her whole world is different after experiencing that dream. Everything seems off. So she goes, let's go to the real world in just a second, but she goes to a person they call Weird Barbie, who then helps her interpret that dream and tells her that means some girl in the real world is having a problem. You need to go see her and solve this. So Barbie goes to the real world. Ken hides in the back of her car. Now he's on the journey with her. To her shock, Barbie finds out that men are in charge. Worse than that, women are not taken seriously, even at Mattel. And it's like, wow. She then meets the girl that she thinks that she's there to help, but that girl just doesn't care. And so Barbie now thinks her journey is meaningless until it turns out that it's the girl's mother, Gloria. This is played by America Ferrara. The girl's mother is the one who needs Barbie's help. She has been having problems in life. Her daughter doesn't really like her anymore. So she's been sitting down and going back to the thing that made her feel good, which was playing with the Barbie dolls. But the whole time she's experiencing feelings of despair and thinking about death. Barbie brings Gloria and Sasha, the daughter, back to Barbie Land, where they find out Ken has arrived just before her. He's turned into a male chauvinist. He's taken over Barbie Land. All the Barbies have become maids and agreeable girlfriends. So he took away their decision-making power. Somehow he's hypnotized them. Whatever's happened there, it's just no longer okay. Gloria then delivers a profound monologue about what it's like to be a woman. At the point at which she does this, Barbie is at her lowest. See, look at her. She's very sad. Things aren't working. Everything has gone wrong in her life and in Barbie land. Gloria delivers this monologue and it inspires Barbie. That shifts things for her. I can remember at this moment listening to this monologue, and I looked around and I probably saw 10 different women in the audience crying while listening to that monologue. It was really amazing. I love amazing monologues. That one I think is deeply profound. At that point, the Barbies then take control back, but they show more respect to the Kens. And that says there's been a change for them. There's also been a change for the Kens. And finally, Barbie, towards the end, finally meets her creator, Ruth Handler, who is now a spirit. But Ruth says a couple of things that are pretty profound to her. And I'm only going to point to one. Maybe we'll find out about the other in just a moment. She tells Barbie that her story has no end and that Barbie can be anything she wants to be. So this is essentially Barbie just heard from God, her creator, and Barbie now has permission to be anything. She doesn't have to be exactly what's shown up. Now, that's basically the transformational journey. Each step has made some kind of change. Each step has shifted this character. Some of the steps were designed to have the Barbie character think outside the box. Some of them were designed to have her recognize when certain things aren't working. And ultimately, some of them were designed to empower her in a big way, like the monologue and like talking with her creator. But I want to talk specifically about the monologue, because writing a great monologue is different than just having a character tell you what they're thinking. I see monologues all the time that weren't set up well, that had no meaning, all that kind of thing. But I want you to look at what this one did. I went to Google 30 minutes before I got on here and added this set of slides just to talk about it. So here's the search. America Ferrera delivers epic Barbie monologue. Now, I didn't put that in. I put in America Ferrera Barbie monologue. This is what came up. Here were all the things that were at the top of the page. America Ferrera Barbie's speech resonates with women. Here's why. America Ferrera's empowering Barbie monologue. Read the full monologue. Read the powerful, powerful Barbie monologue about being a woman, right? It's like, it's interesting when I search that one thing, this is what comes up. This is what people are talking about 1 hour ago, 3 days ago, 3 hours ago, right? This is what's out there in the news right now. People are talking about this monologue. There's a whole bunch of reasons, but I want you to walk you through one in particular. By the way, do you see how America feels at that moment? I think she represents the whole country today. But the monologue was written through irony. And there's lots of ways you can write monologues. Irony is one of the techniques we teach in our profound class. Most people feel like irony is something very, very difficult. I'm going to tell you, once you understand it, it's pretty easy. Basically, here's what irony is. You put two opposites together in a meaningful way. Right? And you may think, well, that doesn't really give it, but I'm going to tell you, if you understand that, that will change how you write and how you create irony. I got this straight from an A-list screenwriter. We have a whole model for how you create irony. You're about to see one part of it right now. Here is one part. This is what they did here. You have to do X, but you don't do Y. right? And you may look and go, what's that got to do with irony? If the X and Y are opposites, we automatically experience irony, which is a deep, profound way of thinking. So let me just walk you through this monologue and you'll see what I'm talking about. And by the way, I didn't pull up the entire monologue. I'm just going to take you through about 8 or 9 of the lines. But two things. The reason why I'm focusing on this, there's, well, 3. One is what you just saw, which is the media is talking about it. The media is talking about something this writer wrote. And I want that to happen for every single one of you. Second reason is because my experience of it was profound. As soon as this monologue was over, I thought about Cheryl, my wife, and my daughters in a different way. And the third reason is because, again, at the end of this monologue, I looked around and I saw 10 women within like 5 seats of me. 10 women were crying. So it had a profound impact. So here's the first line. It's literally impossible to be a woman. First, I love that as an opening line to a monologue. Like, we have to always be extraordinary. There's one side of it. But somehow we're always doing it wrong. Right? We're supposed to love being a mother. That's one side. But don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman. Again, that's one side. Here's the other side. But also always be looking out for other people. Right? And it's like, you look at this, it's like, wow, the paradoxes women have to live with. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. Now, if you wanted to write a monologue about what it's like to be a woman, the truth is you could write it 100 different ways. But this one, because it was delivered through constant irony and setting up basically a paradox of what it's like, I think it gives profound depth. If you would have only said the good things, I think we would have just been going, so what? If you would have only said the negative things, I think we would have just been going, wow, that's, this person's just having a hard time. But having to live with both of those together on all of these levels, oh my God, that's incredible. That's just astounding. And from a perspective of being the writer on something like this, it's like to have, a change happening out in the world because of it. That's amazing. Now, let me just see if I can get our stuff up here. Here we go. Listen, for everybody else, here's what I would say. Part of what you want when you are writing a profound movie is you want the audience to be engaged deeply. You also want them to have the kind of experience that Cheryl had and probably a lot of other women have had. If you can create something that actually causes a real change out there, that's absolutely amazing. So when we created this program, and I want to walk you through it so that you can see what's actually possible. When we created this program, what we were looking for was, what would it take for a writer of screenplays to be able to create something that's truly profound and would have an impact on the world? Now, as I'm talking about this, think about what change would you like to make out there? What would you like to do that would actually shift people and give them a better life? Because that's absolutely possible once you understand this. when we developed this program, what I had was a team of high quality writers, but I also had 2 therapists and 1 psychiatrist who were part of it, because we were looking to have movies make a profound impact. So let me just kind of walk you through it so you can see how it works and see if this is something you might want to join us for. At the end, I'll give you a special price that will make it easier, and you can just jump right into this. So this program starts with, what is profound? So the first thing you do is you look at the idea you have and what will make it profound, right? We're going to clarify exactly what profound means and what kind of an impact it can have on people. But by the time you're done, even with this lesson, which our lessons come out every other day, that gives you 2 days to do it. By the time you're done with this lesson, you will at least have a really good idea of what can make your idea profound. Then it's about defining the change so that you clearly know what's the change the audience is going to experience and what's the entertaining story. You want these 2 to work together. You need that story to be entertaining so people will watch it over and over and over and love it. And you need that change to be powerful so that they also will watch it over and over and over. On day 3, then it's about creating the transformational journey that the audience is going to go through that will change their life. Now, most people focus on a transformational journey for a character, but as you saw from our profound model, we have a model where you can cause change in an audience. So every step of this is about that. Day 4, now you look at the change agent, and there's specific things that go into that, and the transformable character. Who's the character that's going to go through the change, and who is your change agent, and how do they cause change? Day 5, now it's about the actual gradient of change. And you saw I listed a gradient of change that's a series of steps that take us there. But please know this, we have 3 different gradients of change. And what you'll really do is you'll create all 3, and then you will intertwine them, and that will become your plot. Day 4 is then you build that into a transformational structure. This is a structure specifically designed for this kind of change. Day 7, now it's how do you connect with your audience? And to do this, you have to know who your audience is, right? And then you have to know what are the specific things that will cause them to connect emotionally. What you heard from Cheryl when she was talking about why this felt like it was her movie, it's like they did a great job of connecting with their specific audience. And by the way, if you're a man and you were sitting there watching, my experience was, it was like, oh, this looks kind of superficial. But that wasn't her experience, right? For the audience, what was happening there was deep and had meaning. For me, it was different at that point, right? So a lot of times when you connect well with your audience, the other audience is going to feel like, is this really necessary? Do we need to know this? And that's okay. The more profound you can make it for your specific audience, the more powerful it'll be. Day 8, now it's about leaving us with a profound ending. And that means an ending that changes how we think, that locks in the change that's already occurred, and that also has an impact, right? This movie, I didn't tell you the ending, but I would say, even if we just get to the last line of the movie, I walked out surprised and thinking, wow. So day 9, 10, 11, 12, these are all things that the psychiatrist in our team and our 2 therapists both said weren't possible in a movie. By the time we were done with that development team, they looked at our model and they said, oh my God, this really is possible, which is about how do you change people's belief systems? How do you shift how they think? How do you connect with them and deliver profound moments that cause them to see life in a different way? And again, you just heard a bunch of those from Cheryl. But I felt the same way. There were some of those were profound moments for me also. And it's because of how it was written. So, this kind of depth is the kind of thing that producers love, but have no idea how to create themselves. And that's important. In this industry, you will hear this. One of the biggest complaints that people have about writers who are relatively new to the industry is that their work has no depth. What this is about is giving you tremendous depth. Day 13 is now about making the scenes entertaining. That's important. And then 14 is dialogue that guides our life. Now, think about like Dead Poet Society. There was a line in there. Carpe diem, seize the day, boys, seize the day. Take that single line. I saw, when I was doing corporate training at that time, I saw that on the walls of about 30 different corporations. Carpe diem, seize the day. I saw classes that were built around that for corporations. It was like that movie came out and people started saying that line and some of the other lines, and it had an impact. This movie's going to do the same thing. And my hope is that yours will also. Finally, day 15, then you build this into essentially a map that becomes your outline for your story. And every step of your story has caused some type of profound change. Now, the normal price on this class is $297. I'm going to give you a special on this. This program is one of my favorites. It's one of the ones that we've had so many people that have had serious life change as writers. Let me just tell you one more story and then I'll tell you the special. We had a writer who was in the program. She was working for a producer. She was doing a paid writing assignment with a horror producer. And he had her rewrite that script 5 different ways. And he just kept saying, it's good. It delivers the horror I want, but something's missing. So she took this model and she went back and she rewrote the script, did one draft where she built in everything that was here. She handed it to the producer. She didn't tell him she'd done this. She just said, I think maybe I've got what you want now. And he read through it and he came back and he said, oh my God, you are an incredible writer. And that project they've been moving forward on. Now they're paused right now because of everything that's going on in the world. But that project, everything changed once she brought in the profound model. This is what producers are looking for. So if you want to write at that level, come join us. Here's my special price. This is for the first 20 people that sign up. Normal price is $297. I want to make it easy for you guys, and I want to give you a chance to be able to be part of this. So for the first 20 people, you get in at, I think it's $147. So that saves you $150. So right now, for the first 20 people, all you got to do is take that link, bit.ly/profound class. Make sure you capitalize the P and the C. Take that link, put it in your browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and come join us.